This is Envision Self-Healing Podcast, episode number 10. Hi, I'm Will Fuller.
And I'm Richard Miller.
And we are the co-creators of EnvisionSelfHealing.com. And we're dedicated in helping you improve your eyesight and quality of life
by taking healing into your own hands. This week's topic is taking the first step in improving your eyesight. And in the second half of the podcast, we're going to be addressing a question that came to us via Facebook that asks, if I have myopia and I'm doing the distance-looking exercise, am I straining my eyes by taking off my glasses and looking into the distance?
So, Richard, how was the world of self-healing treating you this week?
Self-healing took a vacation this week.
Okay, nice. So you rested?
Yeah. Oh, no. I was doing my taxes, going through my bank statements for the last year.
I think our listeners went through the tax season with you. I
think so, yeah, you did.
This might be the third week in a row now.
I think it is finally done.
Okay, great.
I did extend, actually, but It's done anyway. So looking at my bank statements for the last year, spent a lot of time there. I've been looking for a place to rent also, so I've been scanning that. So I'm just going through why I didn't do my eye exercises this week.
Otherwise known as excuses.
Excuses, yes. They're good excuses this week, though.
Everyone thinks it's a good excuse, otherwise they wouldn't use it.
Yeah. All right, so, and I'm editing video. We videotaped our webinar that we did last 6 weeks. So I've been starting to edit the video. The funny part about all this is, yes, I get motivated to do my eye exercises when I'm watching the video of you telling me to do the eye exercises.
Tell them about the blinking.
Yeah, the blinking, yes. So I'm watching the screen, trying to get the editing done, and Will comes on and says...
On the screen?
On the screen.
On the video.
Yeah, not actually in person. And he says, be sure, if you're working on the computer, to be sure to blink rapidly in between. And I did, indeed, as he's telling me this, I did do the rapid blinking. And it did help.
So it works?
It does work.
That's excellent.
So the positive thing, I guess there was a positive thing that happened this week, was I encountered, I was just struck by how often this is starting to happen with us. I was meeting a friend in Berkeley for lunch, and... as I came into the restaurant, he came up to me and said, "Oh, you've got to talk to this person." And it was a woman friend of his that he'd met in a class. And she proceeded to tell me the story about getting a parasite in her eye and losing part of her retina to this parasite. And
wow.
It was a harrowing story, really, and all the medical procedures she's gone through.
Wow.
And... The nice thing is, we are someone who can actually sit down with that person and say there's hope of getting some of your vision back.
Yeah, try and figure out what it is that the problem was or what our symptoms are, and then we might not be able to cure whatever happened, but we could certainly help the symptoms of whatever.
Exactly. So she has an optic nerve problem now, like similar to mine, and a blind spot similar to mine. Right. And I think it feels good to be able to sit down with someone and say, I have exactly your problem. I know the anatomy you're talking about.
Yeah.
I knew what drugs she'd been given, all of these things. And I think it was very pleasing to me, actually. Yeah. I know it. And every time I tell people, like, I had this exciting experience with someone who lost part of their retina, they think I'm some sort of vision ghoul, that I have a morbid interest in people losing their vision or something.
I think it's also, like you say, it's just so nice to know that we can help these people and that there is hope.
Yeah,
they've been drilled through all these operations, and doctor by doctor says, we've never seen it before. There's nothing we can do. We could try this surgery, but there's a good chance it won't work. You could go blind. Right. A lot of us have. I've had that said to me in the past as well that, we could try and operate, but there's a 60% chance you'll go blind. So it's like. Thanks very much.
Yeah. No, we are the one sort of ray of hope in some ways in a lot of these people's lives because they've been given... The doctors basically believe that eyes can't get better except through surgery and drugs.
And it's also nice that even though we've not had that condition, I still feel like we can understand what she's experiencing and what she's going through, because we have a lot of the symptoms ourselves.
Right.
And a lot of our clients have the same symptoms. So even though we've never met anyone that's had this condition before, we can still relate it to a lot of our clients' experience and our experience ourselves.
Yeah, and I was able to sit down. She only had like 5 minutes to talk to me because she was off somewhere else. But I was able to sit down, discuss all the anatomy that was going on with her. What anatomy was being affected, and actually give her an idea what kind of exercise program she could be doing. So,
excellent.
Yeah, well, that was a very pleasing experience.
It'd be nice to see. Hopefully, she follows through with it and keep us updated.
Yeah. So, how was your week?
Yeah, I had a good week this week. Of course, always busy, and I didn't do as much exercises as I wish I had have done. I did have an interesting experience of not doing my exercises, and again, I missed 2 days. And that intense eye strain came back. The evening of the second day, it came on like a migraine, or I don't want to say hangover, but it was sort of that.
It was the computer hangover. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't. That's the thing. I wasn't on the computer that much.
It was just not doing the exercise. Yeah, the relaxation.
So just general eye strain, and this is why I really think people with RP or lack of periphery, sort of have eye strain tenfold to that of everyone else, because they're not using the periphery. So it's this intense central vision, all day, every day. So, but I know before I've commented on this, and it's that 2 day mark again. So even though obviously it was a negative experience, it's nice to see that there's starting to be a pattern.
Yeah.
That if I miss 2 days, it's normally if I'm watching TV in the evening, probably about an hour, then I start feeling this headache coming on, this eye strain. But I'm that much more aware of it now, so I was sort of like, oh, okay, so what sort of things am I experiencing or noticing? And one thing I notice is I get very short-tempered with just anything that's going on. I can't. I have to just go to bed. I have to shut my eyes. I can't. It's anything just adds to the headache or adds to the, and it's almost like, if someone's talking to you and you've got this constant, almost like ringing noise, but it's not a ringing noise, it's a head. It's like and all you want to do is just shut your eyes, go into a dark room and just switch off. So obviously I was disappointed that I had this eye strain, and of course the point is to not experience it. But it's good in a way, because I've got my whole life of this eye strain.
Yeah.
And never knew about it. So at least now I'm conscious about it.
Yeah.
And the fact that I was able to realise that this eye strain was coming on. So I just switched off. I was like, I'm going to bed. I laid in bed, dark room, and I could just feel my eyes like throbbing. It was almost like I could hear my heartbeat in my eyes. So I was like, oh no, what have I done? So I thought, well, I'm just going to palm. It's not going to do much. It's not going to do much, This 2 days worth of strain. Anyway, I palmed, and in about 5 minutes, the throbbing went away.
Really?
And it really calmed it down, like 90%. There was still that low level strain there, but I was amazed. I didn't think that just 10 minutes of palming would have that effect. And it just, the next morning I got up and I did my eye exercises straight away, and my eyes feel a lot better for it. But yeah, I was very impressed to see that a sort of short palming session did that.
Yeah.
But on the plus side, this week, at the weekend, I went to see the San Jose Sharks.
Oh yeah.
And they won in overtime. We were excited, and they won the Western Conference, I think, this week.
Oh, was this the playoffs or something? Oh no, it was the end of the season.
The end of the season.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry guys, I'm not into sports right now. So.
And I'm learning ice hockey. So it was a great game, and it was nice to head down to San Jose. But one thing that I noticed, we stayed in a hotel down there, and it was quite an old hotel. Nice. It was sort of in the downtown area. Mm-hmm. And as I was walking down the corridors, typically in the hotel it's sort of like a maze, and everywhere you turn looks the same, and but it had lighting going down the side of the walls either side, and it was like a light every 3 or 4 feet. There was lights in the wall, and as I was walking down these corridors, I could see the lights going past me almost like a car driving past. Now, I guess for the majority of people listening to this, that's normal.
Yeah.
So, but for myself, because with the RP, I would only sort of see in front of me, so I'd only really sort of see a couple of lights that are furthest away, I suppose.
Right.
So, but I was able to track these lights all the way from, say, in the distance, and then as I would get closer, the light would go all the way up to the side of my head.
Yeah.
And then as I would pass, I would see the light sort of go.
Right.
So I was able to track it all the way in my periphery.
But still looking straight ahead.
And still look straight ahead.
Yeah.
And I was able to see the whole corridor and that sort of effect where it shrinks.
Perspective.
Yeah. So I was able to see the whole corridor.
Wow.
So anyway, I took a picture of it. For those of you that listen, if you head over to our Facebook page, and I'll post that up as soon as possible when we get time. So you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about there. And I also noticed the same thing when I was on the way home on the train, and it was one of those Amtrak's, well, it's called Caltrain, but I'm assuming you would say it's like an Amtrak's where there's two levels, a lower level and an upper level. So, but I was sitting there, and I was sitting in the bottom right-hand corner of the train, I guess you could say. And again, I took a picture of this so that, because I figured that it's difficult for our listeners to sort of understand, especially with our own conditions. And I know it's interesting for people to sort of get a grasp of what we're talking about with these conditions. So anyway, I was sitting there, and the top left corner of my field of vision, as I was looking forward, I noticed some movement. And I thought, well, that's strange. And this is sort of quite high up, and it was somebody sitting in a seat.
Right, opposite.
In the top left-hand corner, sort of opposite
and
top left-hand corner.
Yeah.
And there was a window there, and the person was sort of moving forwards and backwards. So my periphery was picking up that I guess the on-off sort of light, no light, no light, and I was able to pick out the sort of the silhouette of his head moving up in the top left-hand corner. So
it's sort of like reality is imitating your eye exercises in some ways, right? Because the lights on the side and then this on-off thing is very similar to what you do for eye exercises.
But what's nice is previously I had to sort of consciously tune in and sort of be like, okay, now what can you see in your periphery?
Yeah.
But for this time it happened, and I was like, oh, what's that? And I almost didn't believe it, because it was an extreme periphery. I mean, if you think how high that is, somebody sitting up on that top level of the train. So anyway, it was a nice peripheral vision trip to San Jose there. Yeah. So I'll stick both of those pictures up on our Facebook, and indeed it would be nice if other people in our community, if they started sending in pictures of and I think you can post it on our page or tag us in it, because it'd be really interesting to see how other people are experiencing the same thing.
And if they come up with a way of doing an eye exercise on a train or something like that just take a picture and put it on the Facebook page.
That would be great. So I think it's a good time to move over to topic of the week.
And the topic this week is taking the first step in improving your eyesight, which is learn about your condition, learn about the anatomy of your eyesight and what problems you have, basically.
So let's, I think it's a good idea to give you guys a bit of a background on what it is that we're talking about here. Basically, Richard and I sat down a year or two ago and said, okay, we've spent many years working on our own eyes, and we're really sort of getting some good results, and when we're working with clients, we're seeing them getting really good results. So we really wanted to try and figure out a very simple method, I suppose, on how this can be replicated and people can get similar results.
Right. And well, sort of like, why did we get good results, and why are certain clients getting better results than other clients? What's the reason behind that?
That's true.
And that's why we came up with this formula, essentially.
So we sort of verbally surveyed, I guess you could say, a lot of our clients and a lot of people that we know that have improved their eyesight. And we saw that there was sort of a common denominator, I guess you would say, between the three. And so we came up with this learn, create, integrate approach that was sort of a very simple way for people to be able to start doing these eye exercises.
Right.
And then there's more of a a chance of success, and also then keep going with the eye exercises, because one of the biggest tasks that people come up against is just time. Just like any new routine, any new diet, any new exercise plan that you're doing, you're normally very successful for the first month or so, and then you start tapering off, and then you become like Richard and I.
Yeah.
Also like Richard, I must say, I do my eye exercise.
Yeah, he's a little better right now.
And then, so it's important that you have these steps in place. So we also thought, okay, if we could start all this again, what do we wish we could have done to really fast track us to vision improvement? Because it was a good few years of sort of plodding around, sort of we call it a crane fly. I don't know what you would call it. They have really long legs, and they sort of just stay in shop windows a lot of the time. They only come out a certain time of year.
A spider?
Daddy long legs.
Daddy long legs, yes, that's what I thought you would say.
So they sort of just, how they just sort of bob around as they sort of fly like a half a foot off the floor. I guess sometimes I would feel like that, moving from vision improvement to vision improvement.
Yeah.
And maybe one month I do my exercises, and then the next month I sort of bob along and do another. So anyway, I really wish that we had this sort of straightforward approach. So the first thing out of the 3-step approach is learn. And we really just feel this is such an important part of being the first step.
Yeah, otherwise you're in some ways accepting the normal medical model of just going, I have this condition, tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I don't care to know anything more. And that just, our experience, that doesn't work. It doesn't motivate you enough to continue with the exercise. So.
And especially when they say nothing can be done.
Right.
I think what they should be saying is there's nothing we can do.
Right.
Meaning the medical model.
Right.
There's not that something can't be done. It's just as far as their medical approach is concerned, or as far as their operations, nothing has been, found yet. Or maybe there is something, but it's not been tested enough, or there's nothing they can necessarily do. So even if there wasn't this self-healing method, I think it's still very important for people to learn about their condition anyway, and to ask questions.
Yeah.
What's, even if it was with the operation, what's the success rate? What is your success rate of this operation, and what it is that you're doing?
Yeah.
So, if they're explaining to you what the operation is, or why the condition can't be helped, and you don't understand any of the terminology, then you just don't know.
Yeah, so we would encourage you, no matter what you're being diagnosed with or what your condition is, obviously, first thing, get on the computer, but then take breaks.
Yeah.
and go to Wikipedia, start the research, go to our website. We've given you some information on different conditions. But we really encourage people to completely understand what their condition is and the anatomy behind it.
Yeah, and it puts you in the driving seat. It makes you the boss. It enables you to make more educated decisions. There's nothing worse than making a decision on fear or anxiety.
Right.
You're afraid. You're losing your eyesight. There can't be. Both Richard and I, certainly understand how fearful it can be that you're losing your eyesight.
Yeah.
So it really does help if you're able to get as much background knowledge as possible on your condition. All the possible methods. It doesn't mean that you have to try them all, but at least you know what's available for you.
Right.
And then it just puts you in a position where you can start taking control of your condition, and you start making the decisions instead of somebody else saying, "I'm sorry, nothing could be done," or "This is the only thing that can be done," and then you're not actually. You're not making the decision, somebody else is making the decision for you.
Right.
So, but certainly what you're saying there about the anatomy, we really tried to take an anatomical approach.
Right. So, and it really, I guess we don't care that you know it for its own sake, but say you're, there's many reasons for wanting to know it. The first one is really just to understand. If some doctor is telling you should do this or that, you're an informed consumer at that point. That maybe is the first reason you should learn. But then for us, we prescribe exercises for different conditions, and we like our clients to know, for instance, if they have cataracts, we want them to know how the lens is working how the muscles around the lens are working, so that when they're doing, say, a near-far exercise or even sunning, like why they're doing that exercise, how it's contributing to making the anatomy healthier and dealing with whatever condition they have.
Definitely.
It's crucial in motivation.
Yeah, I think there's nothing worse than just somebody saying, do 4 of these exercises, 40 minutes a day, and do that for the next 4 months, and your vision will improve. Right. And I mean, maybe you are one of those people that can just follow orders and you'll just stick to it diligently. But if you understand why these exercises are working in the first place, I just think you're going to be so much more motivated to do them if they actually have purpose.
Well, and I guess this is our crusade a little bit too, is that we're fighting against the medical model that says nothing can be done. Yeah. So we've really dug into the anatomy and said, look, if you look at the anatomy, doesn't it make sense that these exercises would work for this anatomical reason? Yeah. We're not just saying, believe us, trust us. Yeah. This is how your anatomy works. This is how the exercises affects your anatomy, and this is why it'll get better.
And it's not like it's some mystical, the information is there for you to learn. It's not like we're trying to keep anything back. It's like, let's take, say, myopia, for example, and that the eye elongates through looking near all the time. Right. So when you learn that, it makes sense to then look into the distance instead of looking near. It's such common sense, but until you've done the background and you understand it, I mean, none of us are really taught this at school. Right. We're certainly not educated by opticians, and even if you ask questions, I mean, opticians and ophthalmologists hate it when you ask questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Why do you want to know that?
Exactly. It's the usual response. Yeah. Well, how many parenting these days has become a science and a fine art, it seems like.
Definitely.
And so how many parents would change the way they're raising their child if they knew that they are basically raising a myopic child by having them read so much or look at close things all the time? And if they had, I just take my child out and play a little more in the yard, or to the beach or something. Yeah,
or at least incorporating a good visual habit of, okay, you've read a story for 10 minutes and then you look up in the distance and say, can you count how many balloons are on the wall or whatever, and then look back at the book again. I just think so many more, if they understood it and they
understood the anatomy, which is so simple. And the doctors know. It's not like we're not creating it. We're not revealing a secret. The doctors know the same thing. Yeah. And yet nobody seems to know this.
And the anatomy's all there. It's all it's science. Yeah. It really is science, but it's just not. People just aren't being educated, and we don't have this knowledge in the first place. Yeah. I mean, if you asked any of your friends, did you know that you could improve eyesight, or did you know that myopia is caused by looking near? Nobody has access to that sort of knowledge. Yeah. Which I guess is why we're just we've just put so much information up on our website, and we're just like, read.
Except don't read too much.
Yeah, but look in the distance once you've read.
You're waiting. Yeah.
So anyway, we could really talk about this for hours.
We get really hot-blooded about this.
The importance of learning, because it really is something that when you start to understand, we've never come across someone that we've explained this to, and they've sort of been common sense people, and they've listened to it and said, oh, well, it makes sense, but I'm not going to do it. Everyone that we've explained it to, they go, oh, well, I didn't know that. Okay, well, I'm going to start looking, I'm going to start doing this. So they start doing it because they know it's common sense. Yeah. And everybody out there, the vast majority of people are well educated and have access to this information freely online, and you really can self-educate. But like Richard said, you can really get lost in it. Goodness knows we've spent years getting lost in all this anatomy, and you go too far in depth in one end and all the rest of it. So we really have tried to strip it down to its bare minimum, I would say, that you need to know on our website. So if you just go to the conditions tab on our website, and you'll see there's a list of conditions there. If you pick your condition, we've talked a little bit about the eye and then about your condition.
At least it gets you started.
Yeah. It's an idea, and especially if you don't understand anatomy or you've never really come across it before, it can be very intimidating to begin with. But it's just like anything else, just like learning how to use the computer, or you start to pick it up after a while.
Yeah, so that's what we would suggest. Go to our website and condition, and then look at the learn section. And take your time learning about your condition. We believe it's important to take time and not rush it in the beginning.
Yeah, and certainly you'll find that when you have those drops in motivation, if you actually know it, that you understand why these eye exercises are benefiting you, then I think there's certainly a high chance of you taking your program up again.
Yeah.
And just everyone has these peaks and troughs or whatever as far as the program is concerned. So it's sort of how can you pick that program back up, and how can you keep yourself going with it. So certainly knowledge is power in that sense, and we certainly encourage you to learn as much as possible about that. So I think it's about a good time to head over to question of the week.
And the question of the week comes from Facebook, from a woman who is questioning doing distance looking and taking off her glasses. She has high myopia.
Okay.
And she is worried that by taking off her glasses and looking at the distance, she'll be straining her eyes. She does feel, it sounds like she feels a bit of strain when she takes the glasses off and looks in the distance. So it's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think it's funny because we were just talking about learn there, and how a big part of not understanding your condition, as we said before, you build up this fear.
Right.
And I know certainly opticians say if you don't wear your glasses, your vision will get worse.
I haven't heard that in so long. Yeah, they do say that.
So it might be that her fear is just not wearing the glasses.
Right.
Could make her vision worse. And I think it's important that we say here that I guess in a way we do agree. If you don't wear your glasses, your vision could get worse. But there is a big but in there.
There's a big but, yeah.
And the but is that if you're straining without your glasses.
Yeah, it gets more with someone with lesser degrees of myopia or astigmatism. I don't think this is an issue, really.
No.
You could just take off your glasses and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I are now at that, well, you're even better than me now, but I'm to that point where I still have a -1.5 to 2 myopia, and I still have a -1.5 astigmatism. But those aren't severe.
Yeah.
So I don't feel strain. I actually feel better when I take my glasses off.
Yeah.
But someone with high myopia, they're dealing with much more blur.
Yeah.
So in those cases, it could be good to have a reduced prescription as a way of reducing. You're taking it in the right direction without creating more strain.
Yeah, and that's really, and you could do that two ways, I guess. One is to go in and ask for your prescription to be lowered, or another one, because we know that you're always encouraged to get stronger and stronger glasses whenever you go back to the optician. So if you can just keep hold of, hopefully you kept hold of your old pairs of glasses, and you could just start decreasing through those glasses.
Put on those 1970s glasses, and maybe you can start a new fashion trend back that direction. So.
That'd be great. Certainly send us those pictures on Facebook if you do.
The big glasses would be great.
Yeah. So, but when we talk about strain, I mean, a lot of it is straining to see. So people frown when they try and see, they lean into something. Right. So that's why I kind of feel that, you know, anyone could sort of have that strain because it depends on how you deal with that. Right. But certainly if you've got higher levels of myopia without your glasses, I mean, you feel as though you're walking around blind.
And actually she isn't doing any harm in I don't think she certainly isn't making her myopia worse by not wearing her glasses. Yeah,
so and this is the difference. This is where we need to make sure that there's a fine understanding here that if you're just sitting in your living room, listening to the radio, or maybe you're watching a program that you don't need to see clearly, or you're just, you know, eating dinner, you know, then you're in a relaxed environment, you're not wearing your glasses, you're not straining to see, and, you know, in that way, certainly your vision isn't going to deteriorate that way. Right. And that's where it's going to improve because you're using your eyes naturally, the muscles are able to start to relax, and you're starting to get used to your natural vision instead of this false vision, you could say, with the glasses.
Right. So I guess we could say it's a complicated question, because she could, if she's straining, you're right, then it's not so great.
Yeah.
But she could take her off her glasses and make friends with the level of blur that she has.
Very important.
And not strain potentially.
Yeah.
And then it would be fine.
And not be fearful of that blurriness. It's really important to sort of come to terms, if you will, with how your vision is, where it's at.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, you can start maintaining it and then improving it. But of course, this is us. The reason why we really wanted to choose this as a topic is because the question was about distance looking, and we wanted to talk about everyday life first, and then go on to the distance looking exercises, because we don't want people to get confused between the two. Now, the distance looking exercise, in theory, that's the same as sitting in your living room. It's meant to be a very relaxed exercise to be doing. You're sort of gazing out. Over here we have the ocean here in San Francisco, so we just stand and gaze out at the ocean. But if you're in a well built up area, say we're downtown, then maybe we just look out at the top of the big building blocks, or just out to the horizon. So but that really shouldn't be a strenuous activity. You should be very relaxed. And I think maybe the key is to try and be aware of your own emotional state. Right. And I think sometimes if you're not used, if say you've got high myopia, you're not used to not wearing your glasses, then it can be a very frightening and upsetting thing, I guess. Yeah. To not be doing it.
Yeah. Because, and the reality is the glasses do probably correct her to 20/20, so she's used to a high level of sharpness, which I've never had, actually, so maybe that's why it's easier for me to not do that. But still, so it does take a psychological adjustment, right, to the blur, and relaxing into it, and seeing what you can see, accepting that you can see what you can see.
And when you're looking into the distance, you don't have to be looking at anything in detail. It's the act of looking in the distance that is helping you to a certain extent with that eye exercise. So just the fact that you're looking in the distance is helping the eye relax. It's helping reduce strain in the eye. It's not increasing strain, it's reducing it, allowing that relaxation to occur. But if you are somebody that's worried about it, then just start off doing it short. Maybe stand there, look into the distance, take your glasses off for a minute, 2 minutes. You could also massage your forehead, your cheeks, massage your neck, all around your face, to make sure that strain isn't there. You could go for a run beforehand. You could do stretches beforehand.
You could also do some sunning beforehand that would relax any light sensitivity.
Yeah, a good idea.
Yeah. That would take out some of the strain as well.
So there's many things you can do, but certainly we've never come across ourselves or any of our clients or know of anyone that has made their vision worse by looking into the distance.
Right, it's always gotten better.
But certainly making sure that you're relaxed at the time of doing it, and then just thinking about reducing your prescription for your everyday life, because it is just an exercise, and Richard and I are really trying to push for you guys to incorporate these eye exercises into your daily life. So certainly with the eye exercise, looking into the distance shouldn't be a problem, not wearing your glasses. But in your everyday life, to make sure you're not straining, then you either want to drop down in your prescription, or you could also try things like pinhole glasses. That might also help.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. I hope we answered that question there in quite fine detail. Again, we could go up for a lot longer.
Yeah.
But we're going to move on. So, really good chatting with you this week, Richard.
Yeah, and you.
And you can find this podcast either on our website or on iTunes, and we also put this out on YouTube, a video version. As always, we encourage you to leave any comments underneath the post, any of your thoughts on how you found the eye exercises or any of the topics that we've covered today. As I said before, I'm going to post a couple of these pictures up, and we try and update our Facebook as regular as possible. So head over to our Facebook fan page, and you can like us there and join our vision improvement community, and also check out some of the pictures that we've got going on and how we're improving our eye exercises and improving our eyes. And every week Richard and I also post a blog, so you can also look out for our blog posts, which are on our website and also on YouTube. And also head over to our website at envisionselfhealing.com, and you can sign up for our free ebook that's over there that's got lots of the detailed information that we're talking about, really help you learn the anatomy of parts of the eye, of all the eye that we've got going on there, and we try and help you understand as much as possible how modern day life is affecting our eyesight and how indeed we can improve it just by adjusting our lifestyle and doing some very simple eye exercises. So good luck with your eye exercises this week, and happy healing.
And have a good week.